So I have been using AI, generative AI, to kind of help me formulate some thoughts. And the nice thing about it is I can ask it to behave in a certain way. So I ask it to behave as if you're working for a consulting firm and this is what your role is. And then I can ask it, how would you approach this if you're working at a big product firm? And how would you approach this if you're working at a startup?
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. We're back for another episode of AI Got This. And you can see we're not in our normal location. We're going to do it a little different today. Hopefully we'll have some fun here. We've got a bunch of folks in the room that have been playing with AI for a long time and are delivering these kinds of AI solutions to our clients. But today we're going to talk a little bit about how we all use it in either our personal life or at work or just however you're using it, so that we can sort of share with the audience ways in which we think about it, both personally and professionally, and sort of maybe use cases that we think about for our clients. So Kathy, why don't you go ahead and start, and let's do a quick introduction. So why don't you can start the introductions and we'll go around and you can give your example.
Okay, my name is Kathy Ferguson. I have had the honor of being on AI Got This with several of you, not to mention that I work with a lot of these people often, just really kind of taken in their brilliance. I am a CPA, I'm an audit partner. I sit in a different location, but what we have found is all of our clients can greatly use AI throughout. I work predominantly with private schools. I also work with some nonprofits, but predominantly private schools.
Yeah, awesome.
Lauren Renninger, I'm a director on our AI analytics and automation team. Happy to be back.
I'm Talbot Harty. I'm a fellow at Armanino, and I work in our strategy and transformation services.
I'm Gina Montgomery. It's nice to be back again. I'm a director on our AI automation and analytics team as well, focusing a lot on M365 Copilot and some of Microsoft's AI solutions, but not limited to. So,
Michael Pacifico, I'm a solution architect in same AI automation analytics team, focused primarily on Microsoft and M365, but also not necessarily specifics to that too.
And I'm Ryan Clark. I'm a senior director here at the firm. I work along with the team here, as you probably guessed by now. I have kind of a slightly different angle here. I work a lot with our products and our IP and solving different technology solutions for our customers. So yeah, this is right up our alley.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me on this one.
Yes. This is your first time.
First time.
Yeah. Oh, Michael, your first time too. Okay, fun.
That's why we're on this side of the table.
Yeah, group first timers. Okay. Kathy, you want to start with your example?
Yes.
How you're using it?
So I would say that, I use AI throughout the day and I use AI often. It's usually one of my go-tos. When you hear the tech people talk, they will talk tech like it's X's and O's and numbers and ones and zeros. When I talk about it, they are my friends. And yes, I do. I give them names and then I remember to use them. I would never remember to call my computer and ask it a question. But my personal one that I use her name is Chloe. And I remember to use Chloe often. My entire family will say to me, hey, can you ask Chloe about this? Can you ask Chloe about that? I told Carmel the other day we were in New York and my husband and I, we went to go see the Statue of Liberty, which is amazing. And I'm sure everybody has seen it. And so we had a nice little travel itinerary by Chloe. She told us where to go, what train to take. We had never been on a subway. This was all exciting. We did all the things and I asked her questions along the way. What I didn't know is when you get off the subway, these men in blue jackets are standing there and they're like, do you have a ticket? You can't go past. Do you have a ticket? You have to come over here. And I'm like, no. I don't think I want this. I think I want the real ticket. And they're like, this is the real ticket. You have to buy it here. I'm like, okay, but are you like the hop on, hop off a bus or are you real? And long story short, I buy the ticket because I'm convinced they have an official jacket with a logo. They walk me about 3 blocks down the road and put me on a bus. And the whole time I'm terrified. And I'm looking at my husband going, I don't know if this is right. So I sit down on the bus and I say, Chloe, I'm sitting on this bus and these men in blue jackets convince me I have to do this. Here's a picture of my receipt. Am I in the right spot? Is this where you told me to go? And she said, Kathy, has the bus left yet? And I was like, no. She's like, immediately get off the bus. tell them you will dispute the charge. Walk to the end of the block. I will send you directions how to dispute the charge. You are not on the right bus. This is what this one does. It does not let you get off on Liberty. When you walk past those men, they are very aggressive. Tell them you already have a ticket. Keep walking. Tell them you have a pedestal ticket and they'll let you go. I was like, yes, thank you, Chloe. I appreciate you. She's like, girl, I am here for you. That is my example, but I would say you can tell we talk a lot.
I can tell you that Kathy and I do a bunch of speaking engagements together, and she introduces Chloe in these to the audience all the time as her friend. And I will sit up there and go, "You're not friends. She's just a machine." This is not the
Chloe
movie
will
Pearl.
say, oh, but Carmel, we are.
That's true. That's true. She will say that. That's awesome. Ryan, why don't you talk about your example?
Yeah, sure. So fun fact at the firm, we get to do a number of different things all the time, right? So my role changes in and out depending on maybe the week or the month, the year. And so over the last couple of years, I've sort of adopted a role that's a little bit less consultancy and more product manager-y. And not having that background, I find that I need a little supplemental help in communicating to senior leadership around how we're doing and where we should invest and how we should do these things. But I don't just inherently have all of these data points or facts canned, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little new to me, kind of a new way to approach how I talk about what we're doing and what I need. So I have been using AI, generative AI, to kind of help me formulate some thoughts. And the nice thing about it is I can ask it to behave in a certain way. So I ask it to behave as if you're working for a consulting firm and this is what your role is. And then I can ask it, how would you approach this if you're working at a big product firm? And how would you approach this if you're working at a startup? And I can take all of those inputs and begin to formulate things that overlap, right? There's a lot of commonalities. I can find the outliers that maybe work better for me or my situation. So it's been kind of a helpful sort of Q&A type of thing in order for me to better communicate with leadership, a better way for me to promote some of the things that I think are winners for us and help socialize and have some data points around things that we probably shouldn't work on right away.
And if you weren't using that, who would you go to for that information?
Yeah, I mean, read product management books.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I tried that and it's really super boring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can be dry.
Yeah, it's way dry.
Yeah,
It's helpful. It gives me if nothing else, it gives me something to talk to and get some feedback on, and I can iterate over that real time, but it gives me a starting point, and I've actually learned a lot, in a short amount of time. So.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Very cool. Gina, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure, I'll go
Okay.
next.
And you have your computer.
I
You're
do.
ready to go.
I'll do like a brief show and tell, but just to set it up, I work with a lot of clients who are trying to figure out how Copilot can help them streamline a process, right? And in this particular example, this was a architecture, engineering, design firm, and they do a lot of different things. Okay, so one of the areas that they felt like their folks were spending a lot of time on had to do with fire protection code analysis. Okay, and so I was given some high level steps in the process, what they have to match. A lot of it has to do with documents that they have stored in M365. So for every new project that they do, they'll spin up a Microsoft team, and then there'll be a files section. And within those files, they'll have things like fire code descriptions, and then building specs and floor plans and all this stuff, right? And so they're really trying to work through a process. So I'll show you this process just for 1 second, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how I was able to use 2 AI tools. Okay, I was using Claude to help me with a Copilot demo. So in this example, this is just high level, there's a fire protection code analysis workflow. And like I said, this particular customer keeps their things inside of M365. So we were trying to help them hack a prompt for each step of the process, right? So setting up and identifying code, building classifications and requirements against those, Then the egress and compartmentation analysis, which is really what happens when there is a fire emergency. You know, what instructions can they give based upon the floor plan to get someone out of the building fast, right? Like that's basically what that is. And then looking on, you know, systems requirements and code analysis reports, and then creating a submission package at the end. So, you know, we've got these great prompts, we know it's going to work, but we have to demo it. And there's some challenges in demonstrating this, especially if it's in a mock scenario, right? So this particular firm was going to build a new hospital. It had multiple floors, multiple buildings. So in order for me to show how the prompt would work, I needed to generate some demo content, including floor plans. And so that's something that Copilot doesn't do very well today. I needed a tool that could create an SVG file specifically. And I know Claude can do that. So as I was going through and creating the specs for the floor plans, I asked Claude, based upon those specs, can you whip up some SVG files for me? And it sure did. I mean, these are examples of what Claude was able to produce for the mock demo. So I just thought it was like super impressive that just based upon some demo specs, Claude was able to whip up mock floor plans for me that I was able to then save back into their Microsoft team and then make the prompt work. So I just thought that was really a creative way to leverage an AI tool to help you with an AI demo.
Gina, on that slide where it showed like Word and it showed all those, is that because it went to Teams and it went to all these different places to pull all that?
This is the how Copilot works in each step of the process. So we would be in Teams for the first step, and then we would go to Copilot chat for the next step. And like we've given the prompt to use, but behind the prompt, you have to make sure you have all the things available for it to leverage. So as this was just a demo scenario I was building.
Which is that difference in Copilot versus other, like it can work in all of that.
It can work.
You don't have to make it. It does it all. That's very cool.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
Cool.
Very cool. Also, last I checked, you were not a fire.
I'm not, you know,
expert,
and that's a good point, Carmel. You know, working in consulting, we get to work with a variety of industries and sorts of functional roles inside of organizations. And I am definitely not a fire code expert, but I learned a lot.
I think you look pretty darn good in that demo, though, right?
But you play with AI, right?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's a great example.
Mhm.
All right, Talbot, you wanna jump in?
Sure. That's a tough act to follow. That was really neat. I like that.
I like that we're using multiple AI tools as well. I think it's not always a one size fits all.
I
So
had that thought too. They work together sometimes better than just individually.
yeah,
So from a work perspective, in strategy and transformation, we're using, you know, ChatGPT or Copilot or others very extensively. We do a lot of analysis, a lot of data analysis, a lot of benchmarking and kind of best practices recommendations. We do a lot of process mapping where we need to do the analysis and kind of insights and recommendations on that. From a home standpoint, my family went from Dad, you're crazy a couple of years ago when this started rolling out, and I first brought ChatGPT into the house.
yep.
And my wife was not a fan, but Ethan, my son, just glommed onto it, and he started having it help him make games. He's made card games and board games and Dungeons and Dragons stuff with it. And then somewhere along the line, I think it was this, we used to play a game called I Don't Believe You at the dinner table all the time. So I would throw out some random fact, like, I'd ask a question. What is the average number of digits in the sequence that an average person can memorize? Guess, no. And then I say 7. That's not right. So that's the game, right? Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. So I try to explain that's how your phone number's got 7 digits in them, because that's kind of the retention level of an average person. No, that's not right. Well, now we play, the game, and then I just punch ChatGPT into the conversation, and then it tells them that I'm right. So that's a fun game.
I still remember my phone number from when I was in second grade. I'm just letting you know that.
Do you know what I love about that? I love so much that so many people act like if you introduce generative AI, you pull the people and the relationship out, and now it becomes very sterile. And your example was, my family has continued, but now I don't have to go research and find things, but you've diverted more time to being able to spend more time personally together, and yet at the same time been able to integrate that.
And just
I love
It
that.
helps with curiosity, just random curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a rule now so we used to have a rule, no phones at the table. Now we have a rule that only ChatGPT can be at the table.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so every time somebody says something they don't, like the other night, there was like, I think I said, we were talking about screaming or underwater screaming or something like that. Oh, you know what? We were watching something where these guys, have you seen these ones where the guys put the harmonicas in their mouth and then they've got their nostrils plugged and then somebody's like slapping them or doing whatever. So
I've not seen
you haven't
this.
seen this? And so all you
Okay,
can
everyone
do,
can look that up after.
all you can do, these guys, all they can do is breathe through a harmonica. So somebody just they play a game like this where one guy's got their eyes closed, but he's got a whip in his hand, like a slapping horse whip, right? And so the game is the other guy puts his hands hovering over the guy's own knees, and he's got the whip here, and he has to decide which one of his knees he's going to swing at, and hopefully he'll hit the guy's hand. Okay. And then if he doesn't, he slaps himself, and if he does, he slaps the other guy. But each time when you get slapped, you're like, and then the harmonica just starts going crazy.
This has got to be the wildest AI got this I have ever heard.
It's fantastic.
This is what happens when you get us all in the room.
Would
That's
you
right.
expect anything different?
So this led
Chloe's in shock
to,
right now.
Chloe's like, oh dear.
this led to, so we're watching that, Ethan's showing me that, I thought it was hilarious. And then I said, you can't scream without air in your lungs. And he's like, no, that's not true. So, GPT, right? Can you scream without air in your lungs? Nope, you absolutely need air in your lungs to move your vocal cords, or you can't scream. Thank you.
Yeah, but I wonder what'll happen if you give it a name with your family and how they relate to it. You have to try this and let us know.
Give ChatGPT.
Yeah, instead of calling it Chat GPT, call it Mo
Uh-huh.
or Larry or
Yes,
Susie or
Yes.
whoever
Yep.
yes.
and see what happens.
We're rapidly switching to Grok these days.
That's okay.
And,
Name Grok also.
Grok can be named, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, great examples
There you go.
and entertaining.
Yes,
I-
very entertaining.
Maybe we can play that game, Ryan. and
No.
go tonight.
You shall not
When
be
you-
any
With
slapping.
the knee slapping? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm already looking that up. I figured that would be later.
All right, Lauren, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time in work, but those are not less fun use cases. Right now, I think personally, I have been going between ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot to give me an itinerary and plan for an international trip to Scotland. And I have placed this has been my favorite part. I've placed my travel preferences because Carmel, you taught me if you're going to travel this much, you need to pick an airline and pick a hotel chain
right.
and stick with them so that you
You don't
get
need
your
to ask for
status.
that. Just get the status.
Yep. And I did put in my preferences, like with United and with Marriott, and said, like, give me those places to stay and give me those flight options so that I can like use my status. And it sure did. And then I took it a step further and said, like, okay, give me places to eat, give me applicable links and like business hours. Give me both like outdoor adventurous activities, but also like some cultural, historical activities and applicable links. And surprisingly, it was pretty good. ChatGPT, for whatever reason, was kind of faltering on the active links, which was a bummer. But for the most part, it was very effective. But I kind of went to all three because I was surprised to see the differential between what locations they recommended. Because I said, okay, give me like a 10-day trip, but I don't want to go to more than like 3 locations because I don't want to be in a different place every single night.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. Because some of them were like, go to Glasgow, and others were like, no, don't go to Isle of Skye. Like there were all kinds of recommendations. And so that was kind of cool to see the differential. And then there was also really helpful with like, my biggest thing when I travel internationally is like, what's the intercontinental like travel like between cities? Like, do I need to like rent a car? Do I need to worry about an international driver's permit? All of that stuff. And so that it was super helpful with detailing that out.
So one, I just like you're braver than me because there's never a time I'm internationally driving. That would not be true. But the other thing that I think is really cool about it that's different is before when we had a travel agent, that was a piece of paper. It was a folder. It was here.
Yeah.
And this is iterative. So like you have your plan, but like whenever I went to New York, I was able to change it mid-section. I could about, oh, we went here and we were supposed to go there, but we're too tired, or we
Yeah.
didn't get up for this, or can you
Weather's
update
bad today, what
this?
else can we do?
Yeah.
What?
It was
That's
an
such a
indoor
good
thing,
idea.
yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
subway get on, or you get on the wrong bus and you're like, help, what do I do? Right? Like you have a buddy now
That's
in
so
your
true.
pocket.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. All
Well,
right.
how what about you? You didn't
No,
tell us your
I'll
cool
go
one.
left.
Yeah, so, you know, like
Oh.
everyone else, I use it pretty much all day for work. Various, you know, research, pulling data together, creating documents, presentations, you know, it's a game changer overall. I've also started adopting that same usage personally at home. I help my kids prepare for tests by taking all their material. They don't get a study guide in school, take it all, pump it through, come out with a quiz with the answers, because I do not remember biology or geometry from high school. Personally, you know, from a learning perspective, I'm a trumpet player. I play in a band. I've been doing this now for 3 years. I grew up playing all the way from 4th grade through college. Then I had a 30+ year dark period, I'll call it. So back to it, love it, but there's still some things that I'm improving on, want to learn more. Improvisation is one. So I had my friend Claude, who I think I'm going to rename, give me a training plan. So it's not something for work, not skills for work, but something important to me just as much for learning improvisation. And it produced this 3-month, 12-week plan in increasing difficulty. So it knows, all right, you don't know this. It started small. It gave me not only concepts, but the theory. It gave me links to videos that help explain things further. It gave me
Nice.
links to specific artists and specific songs to listen to that matched the technique. And it was just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not going to eliminate the need for an instructor at times, because there's always, you know, how do I improve these specific things? You need to hear and see and kind of interact on a personal level too. But like, it's going to make, it already has like a significant difference. So
Yeah.
that's great. And what's even cooler, I think, is that context of that plan sort of stays. It's like a conversation that Ryan and I have, right? I can come back to it in 2 months and say, okay, I feel pretty good. What else can I do? Or I didn't like this,
Yeah.
not great at this. It knows what this is still and can help.
Yeah.
And just
Can it
continue
listen
that.
to you play, do you think, and give you pointers?
I have not tried that.
Okay.
I'm
That's
sure
your
there
homework.
are.
Yeah.
I would
Some.
love, I'm just curious, if you said, hey, listen up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Would
there's
it
certainly,
listen?
you know, digital tuners and devices for
Yeah.
sound. So yeah, if it's not there, it's on the verge of coming.
Yeah.
So cool stuff.
That's
Cool,
amazing.
very cool.
Very cool. I don't know that I have as many personal ones, but I think well, Kathy's laughing because my house is the most non-AI house you've ever been at in your life. And I lead this group, so there's that, which is kind of ironic. But I do use it every single day for almost everything at work. We even had a meeting today where a colleague of ours is going to present on a panel, life sciences and AI, particularly around inventory management. He's like, well, what can I say? I'm like, well, I don't know, blah, 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 right? He typed a bunch of stuff in. He's got questions and answers now and can run with it, right?
Yeah.
So that would have taken us, I don't know, a couple hours to research previously, and now he's armed with lots of great questions, lots of great answers, and has a great way to go talk to the other panelists about what to say. I think the thing that's super interesting about this today too is hearing how everybody's using it, and the idea that it's not taking away from your personal life. It's actually adding to it and giving
Yeah.
you time, more time back. And we see this in our personal lives probably more than we do at work because we've adopted it there more. We've also been using tools like Alexis and Google at home for a long, long time. And now us having a Chloe, or my person's name is Max, my AI bot's name is Max, right? And so when we name them, now you can start talking to them and interacting them in a different way. I actually have Kimmy doing it now, which is
Amazing.
yeah, she was very anti, and now she's like, I know, I'm gonna ask this. She actually used it this morning. So I think as we think about our first go-to, we used to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna Google that, which is great, but I think that's going away because you don't get to interact with that in a real-time way. You still have to do the research if you're using a traditional search engine, where this is allowing us to have an interaction with the bot, the large language model, and continue to iterate on it, where now it's impacting how quickly we can get stuff done and how real time we can move through the world, where we can do things like spend more time at the dinner table talking about fun and having a fun game instead of, okay, I don't actually know the answer to that. Give me 10 minutes while I go Google that and figure out the answer, right?
Right.
Now it just took me away from the conversation instead of asking it, and everybody gets to participate in that conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which I think is really incredible.
Everybody starts asking questions and,
Yeah.
oh, it
Yeah.
triggers somebody else.
I've
right?
actually
Yeah,
like,
I
I've
think it's
actually
great.
become hesitant to say the Google that, you know, like used to say like, hey, why don't you go Google that? Or I feel like that's not the right thing anymore. So
Right.
now I'm like, let me go ask my
Yeah.
co-pilot friend, or
Yeah.
let me go ask my friend Claude or
Yeah.
Chloe, you know, or
Chloe.
Max in this
Yeah.
instance. But I am like trying to stop the whole, like, I don't even feel right about having that
Yeah,
as the saying, like, go Google it.
I like the idea of building experts that are, so for example, Ethan's in Boy Scouts.
mhm.
And long story that I won't go into about how I never made it through Boy Scouts, but I will say, so I'm trying to help out in the Boy Scouts, don't know anything about the rules of Boy Scouts, how to earn badge, anything. So I built a GPT where I took all of the Boy Scout
Yeah,
Bible thing, right? Dumped it all in there, dumped all the manuals in there, and then just created a GPT. And so now the Scoutmaster's like, hey, share that with me. Because I shared it with him,
yeah,
and it's got a whole thing on all what the parents need to be doing, what
Yeah.
everybody's roles are, and it answers every single question.
yeah.
So
It's
now
fantastic.
I don't need to learn Boy Scouts. I've
And
got
you don't have to
that.
be as specific to find what you're looking for, right? With the book, well, you might have a term you're trying to
Yeah.
find. It may not be listed as that. If it's not in the book in that particular format, you're never gonna find it. And
Right.
with the LLMs and natural language and semantic search and indexing, like it just makes things
Yeah.
easier to find.
Yeah,
Because you might go into a search not knowing specifically what you're looking for. You mentioned before, like Google it and figure it out.
yeah,
That could take an hour
Yeah.
for something and you
This
still
is-
like be frustrated. I don't have it. It's much faster now.
yeah,
It's like take the reference material that you're never gonna read.
Yeah.
yes,
You're never.
Until you're trying to find something.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just dump it in there
Exactly.
and then you get the questions, right?
The
Same thing
commonality is relatability, right? Like you want it relatable to Boy Scouts. I wanted it relatable to talk to me like, I'm like, talk like me. You wanted it relatable in music. Yours, you don't make it talk like you make it talk in some unique accent. What's your accent? Max's accent?
it's Irish.
Max has an Irish
Little
accent.
Irish
So
note.
she starts talking back to it the way it does. And I'm like, even if there are a lot of people who are like, man, I really would love to get better at speaking a second language, but they could talk to it in
Yeah.
that language and not have to go to another.
Ooh.
It's that relatability
That's a cool
of,
one.
I used it in Quebec when my trailer broke down this summer. I lost an axle.
Oh,
And so we're in Quebec.
Yeah.
Nobody speaks English. Pull into the truck stop, right?
yeah,
I'm like, okay. So I'm like, hey, I'm in Quebec. I speak English. All these other people are speaking French. I need you to take what I say, convert it to
Yep.
French, say it to them, listen to what they say, convert it back to me in
Nice.
English.
super cool.
And so we just stood there and it did all of that for
It's
me,
amazing,
back and
right?
forth.
But
Yeah.
I'm doing similar to the Boy Scout thing. I'm doing that with my HOA. So I'm buying a house in a new planned community, and the HOA book is like 200 pages long, telling me what plants I can plant and what plants I can't plant.
And
I'm just like,
trash can.
Okay, I don't have the time to read
No.
that, so I did the same thing. I put it in a spot, put a GPT on top of it, and now I just ask it questions.
did it tell you what to do if an alligator comes on your property?
It did not. But I don't need to ask it that. Run, zigzag.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Did she tell you I created an image in one of them, one of the image generators of her with an alligator chasing behind her?
Yeah, I guess that's how Kathy and I are using AI. in our personal lives. Okay, any last thoughts that we want to share with the audience? Anybody?
I would say thank you, Carmel. You're really like, this is an amazing team of unique talents in a unique way. And the common denominator here is they are all following your leadership and this podcast and all of these kind of things. Really, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. This is super fun. I love it that we get to talk about this stuff, and hopefully it inspires folks to get out there and play with it and tune in again next time. So Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. We'll be back next month with